and worst to be a star.
Richard Simmons, the eternally happy, energetic exercise maven, has made a career exhorting overweight Americans to think and live slim. Simmons mania was born out of desperation, a byproduct of his low self-esteem. As a child, he was overweight, a perpetual dieter given to binging, purging, and diet pills.
I went through 20 years of being made fun of, being put down, being laughed at, and being told that because I was fat, I was a nothing.
In the next hour, you will hear the remarkable saga of Richard Simmons, the fat kid who made good. We'll begin in the steamy French Quarter of New Orleans, where little Milton Simmons lived with his working mother and his stay-at-home dad.
Dad did have a strap. He didn't hit us very hard, but the threat was always there.
You'll watch him struggle with his weight throughout his teens, until a radical diet nearly killed him.
I ended up in a hospital. I was totally dehydrated. My teeth were wobbly. I was internally bleeding.
You'll see Simmons pull himself together and start the hippest exercise studio in body-crazy Los Angeles.
He came flying in with this pink leotard, and I thought, uh-oh, I'm in for a wild ride.
We'll share that wild ride with the unstoppable Simmons, who makes a high-energy debut on America's favorite soap.
Size, go away.
Richard contributed a lot to General Hospital, and I think he was a wonderful addition to the show.
Then becomes a megawatt celebrity and fitness entrepreneur.
I'm sure that a lot of people that see Richard, I'm sure they think that can't be real.
This is the outrageous story of one man's painful journey.
That was my first coffin, first casket, first dead body, first wake, and it was my mother's.
It is a journey that includes childhood obesity, near-fatal desperation, dramatic weight loss, and triumph beyond his wildest dreams.
Wow, that was great. What's going to happen tomorrow?
This is the story of Richard Simmons, the E! True Hollywood story.
He is following me everywhere.
The dream of being one of them, from life's ambition was to be a star. The public
Fitness guru Richard Simmons was born Milton T. Simmons on July 12, 1948, in New Orleans, Louisiana. Little Milton was the second child of Shirley and Leonard Simmons, older brother Lenny Simmons.
He was Methodist, she was Jewish. He was the youngest of 7, she was the oldest of 7. Took care of her siblings after her mother died in childbirth. My father, frankly, was spoiled by his mother and his maiden aunts.
Leonard Simmons followed his dreams of making it in show business and worked as an MC, dancer, and singer. Shirley was a fan dancer. The couple met in a boarding house in Philadelphia.
1938, they got married. 1939, they came down to New Orleans. Dad had a job at Pete Herman's nightclub for 2 weeks. They loved it so much, they decided to stay.
Shirley and Leonard had a good time in New Orleans. They both worked, Leonard in nightclubs and Shirley as a dancer. Life was a big easy. In 1946, Shirley gave birth to Lenny. By the time Milton came along, his parents were more than ready to settle down.
My father was 51, and my mother was somewhere between 38 and 39, depending on which birth certificate you look at.
They gave up a lot of that nightlife and just decided that they wanted to devote themselves to their children.
In 1948, Leonard was working at a club on Bourbon Street when he decided to quit show business for good. In fact, he quit working altogether. Shirley continued to dance, traveling as far as Chicago, while Leonard stayed home with the boys. Neither Milton nor Lenny were particularly thrilled with the decision.
My mother was the breadwinner, and I hated it. Why is my mother going to work and leaving, and then why is my daddy staying home? There's something wrong with this picture here.
It was so different from the typical family of the 1950s where Dad was out, almost like the father knows best, where Dad was out working and Mom stayed home and took care of the kids.
Leonard took his Mr. Mom role seriously. He destroyed all ties to his former career.
My father took every press clipping, every 8x10, every picture, and went out and made a bonfire and burned them all. And as he was coming in, my mother was sneaking out, trying to pull these pictures out.
Milton spent his childhood in the wild and woolly French Quarter, where alcohol is sold on the street corner, grifters and gamblers abound, and good cooking is part of the culture.
New Orleans, being raised around food. Food to me was love. There was something romantic.
I remember a number of times we would go out to the Morrison's cafeteria on Sunday after church, and you know, he would order the most expensive thing in the line. Sometimes he'd order 2 desserts, and of course Dad didn't realize this until it got up to the cashier. So he wasn't very happy about that.
I used to sit in my playpen and see my parents cook food, and it would be like, who needed a television? I mean, oh my God, and they would cut this up, and this, and the mousse, and they make gumbo, and you know, it was like, it was wonderful.
The only income for the Simmons family came from Shirley's bookings, so money was not abundant.
My father made all our own clothes. So he would go to Krauss and buy the material, and he would make all our own clothes. And then we'd be wheeling, and we'd go to Solari's and all these stores, and we just looked breathtaking. He was a Renaissance man. He could do anything. If he wasn't reading, he was needle pointing. He had so many ideas. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to focus on one.
Milton was a restless, mischievous kid who tested his father's patience.
If I acted a little crazy, you know, or a little theatrical, you know, I was always sent to my room.
He spent more time in the bedroom than I did. And Dad did have a strap. He didn't hit us very hard, but the threat was always there. I believe he believed in spare the rod and spoil the child.
Milton resented his father. He wanted his mother to stop traveling and spend more time at home. Eventually, Simmons got his way.
She developed an ulcer, and the doctor basically told her she had to change jobs or get an operation. She decided to change jobs and worked for Cody's Cosmetics at Maison Blanche, which was one of our largest department stores at the time in New Orleans.
She took her theatrical gifts that she learned along the way, and she was able to become the #1 salesperson, you know, for the company. And it's because she gave them a show. She made them feel good.
He especially, I would do it sometimes, but he would go down and visit her and the other ladies at the cosmetic counters.
In 1954, at the age of 6, Milton enrolled in grammar school. In predominantly Catholic New Orleans, that meant enrolling in a parochial school.
We were not Catholic, but the Catholic school with the nuns was 3 blocks away, and we were both devout Catholics, not knowing we were Jewish.
Milton stuck out, both literally and figuratively.
I went to school the first day, and I saw these people in the room. I wanted to sit them down and feed them. They were the thinnest-looking, scrawniest-looking people I said, where have their parents gone wrong? But I was the only fat one there.
Coming up, Richard finds a new friend.
I found that another girl had diet pills, and it was diet pill heaven for me, you know, until I got sick.
And later, Richard Simmons creates a fitness empire.
These men and women who were overweight, who didn't care for themselves, who never liked to exercise, they were all me.
Nice and tall. Let's run the legs up. Inhale. Blow it out. Come out.
She was the ultimate all-American girl.
I was so naive that I didn't know I could fail.
But behind the Snow White image, Marie Osmond's life was no fairy tale.
I realized this is worse than postpartum depression. Something is really wrong.
How did America's sweetheart survive her darkest hours?
My children are my strength.
And discover her own happiness.
The things that have shaped my life more than anything are the downs.
Real stars, real stories. Marie Osmond's Celebrity Profile this Wednesday at 10, only on E!
I stopped at this cafe and I see Norman, but he wasn't alone.
Did you know her?
I had an affair with her. She threatened to kill herself.
Now there's a ghost in my house, and she's trying to hurt you.
Harrison Ford, Michelle Pfeiffer.
Something is happening to me.
Tell me what to do. What lies beneath?
She's starting to suspect something. Your wife.
Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, July 21st everywhere.
Hey, how you doing? What's up, man?
We can make it. We can make it. We can make it. Got a chance. Better take it. We can make it. Try to Somebody do it now.
Get ready for a three-dimensional shot of flavor. Introducing Doritos Jalapeno Cheddar 3D Snacks.
Did last year's vacation not quite measure up? Here's one everyone will love. Take off on a revolutionary fun vacation in Williamsburg, Virginia. And shake hands with America's founding fathers. Settle a colony in a wild, untamed land. Help win the Revolutionary War. And have fun on the wettest, coolest, most thrilling rides you'll find anywhere. Picture this. 3 nights hotel accommodations. 4 days unlimited access to 5 fabulous attractions. At a price that'll make you... Strike a pose at Colonial Williamsburg. Ride the skies at Busch Gardens Williamsburg. Explore Jamestown Settlement. Join ranks at Yorktown Victory Center. And slip slide away at Water Country, USA. All for just $663 for a family of 4. It's one fabulous vacation at one fantastic price. So call today and say...
USA Today gives 4 stars, its highest rating, to Broadway's triumphant new production of The Music Man. Newsweek calls it a masterpiece. So get on the horn and get your tickets today.
By the age of 6, Milton Simmons was already painfully aware that he was overweight. He took measures to cope with his condition.
I had to have a shield, and that shield had to be humor. And I still have that shield today. And I love it and wouldn't give it up for anything.
Young Milton had a love affair with food, and what he didn't get at home, he bought in the city. Childhood friend Joanne Ferrara Lanero.
We went to the morning call. Well, actually, it was the Café du Monde. We had donuts and coffee as little kids, or even chocolate milk or milk. And then we take a spin of the quarter.
And eat some more. Other kids began to make fun of Milton. In 1955, the 7-year-old decided to go on a diet.
One girl said that her mother was going on a diet. She's on a diet and she's taking diet pills. And that she stole one from me.
The pills worked. Shirley Simmons noticed the change in her son.
My mother goes, "What's wrong with you?" I go, "You know, I'm just really not hungry." And then I found that another girl had diet pills, and then I found that another girl got, and you know, it was diet pill heaven for me, you know, until I got sick.
Milton didn't eat for days at a time. One day at school, his heart started racing, and he almost fainted. Frightened, Simmons immediately quit taking the pills and stopped dieting. Milton put all the weight back on. He took his frustrations out on his father.
I saw all the other men go to work with the briefcase, and when I brought it up, he like never wanted to talk about it. And so it was always this little bit of grating going on here. Why? So I said, well, I'll just become the breadwinner.
8-year-old Milton took a job selling pralines after school in the French Quarter.
I was really making money. My father gets so angry because I would buy gifts and I would do things.
The paychecks brought self-confidence and independence. Brother Lenny Simmons.
He decided that Milton sounded like a wimpy name. His middle name was Teagle, named after, that was my grandmother's maiden name, and so they would call him Empty Simmons, and he certainly didn't like that, or Milty.
I sat my parents down and I said, well, Mom, do you like your name? Dad, do you like your name? I don't like my name. They said, what do you want to do? I said, well, Uncle Milton's middle name is Dick, so I'll go for Richard. My parents said, oh, do we have to go down to the courthouse? And does it have to be a big Joan Crawford scene? Or can we just call you Richard? And then they ended up calling me Dickie anyway.
In 1962, Richard enrolled in Corriere-Zoo High School.
High school was hard for me because high school is written that you're a freshman, and then you start dating, and there's this whole little story that's supposed to happen. And that story didn't happen to me at all.
Dickie preferred shopping to dating.
Dickie and I lived about a half a block away, and we always used to go downtown shopping, which is only 4 blocks away. And at the time, the Barbie dolls became famous, and Dickie says, why don't we go buy one? And I said, okay.
A boy who liked Barbie dolls was going to have a tough time in high school. And so it went for Simmons, who pined for the freedom that college offered.
There was a great art school in Lafayette, Louisiana, And I went there for a while, and then I got this great offer to go to FSU, Florida State University.
Richard was interested in Florida State's foreign exchange program.
They would say, you can go to London. Well, who wants to go to London? That food is not good. Or you can go to Germany, how much bratwurst can one eat with the sauerkraut? Or you can go to Italy. Italy, take me there.
Richard was accepted into the program and was sent to Florence in the summer of 1969. He loved the city, its world-class art, and its food. 21-year-old Richard ballooned to over 200 pounds. The weight gain did little for his self-esteem, but it did get him an unusual job offer.
I was sitting there eating lunch, and this man came over who worked for Fellini, and all of a sudden asked me if I would like to be in Satyricon.
Richard took the job as an extra on the Fellini classic. Simmons loved working in front of the camera.
I started, just doing some things on the side, some modeling, just being cute. It was like the first time in my whole life nobody was being mean to me or ugly to me because I was overweight.
Before a shoot in late 1969, Simmons got a wake-up call.
And I had borrowed a car, and there's a note left on the car, and I opened the note and it says, "Dear Richard, you're very funny, but fat people die young. Please don't die."
Richard was shocked. He stepped on a scale. At 5'7", he weighed 268 pounds. Simmons panicked.
For 2.5 months, I just drank water. And, went from a 48-inch waist to a 26, down 119, then to 120, kind of leveled off at 123 pounds. I was totally anorexic. I ended up in a hospital. I was totally dehydrated. My teeth were wobbly. I was internally bleeding.
After 5 days, Richard Simmons was released from the hospital.
I was just one of the lucky ones. And one of the nuns at the hospital, which was near where I went to school, said, why do you hate yourself? Why are you doing this? Why don't you learn how to eat?
Coming up, Richard Simmons wins the lottery, Uncle Sam's lottery.
I don't know if I would have ever come back from Florence. I loved it so. But, I wanted to go to Vietnam.
Check out what's happening at E! Online. This week, Dumb and Dumber or Simply Brilliant. We've got comedic lunatic Jim Carrey in a provocative Q&A. And we rank the 12 most hilarious moments in his career. From outer space or out of a rhino's butt. Make sure you haven't missed a single laugh. Plus, stay on top of Hollywood's latest news, reviews, and gossip. Click on Celebs for everything you ever wanted to know about your favorite stars. For the best entertainment on the web, bookmark eonline.com or find us on AOL. E! Online, entertainment's homepage.
Get ready to fall in love with Runaway Bride. Richard Gere and Julia Roberts light up the screen. The magic is back in a big way.
Now that's romantic.
Runaway Bride, rated PG, on video and DVD tomorrow.
It's happening again.
Where's it centered? I got it. It's centered on Elwood Drive. Go, go, go! Back. All civilians back. 2.7. Yeah. 2.9. Oh, I'm feeling it. Go, move it out. Go, go. Yeah! Oh! I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. Yeah!
Geico Direct. A 15-minute call could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
Don't get stuck. Set your lashes free with new Feather Lash by L'Oreal. For lashes so soft, so feathery, they won't stick together. Fan, separate, and nourish every little lash with new Feather Lash by L'Oreal Paris.
Weeknights on E! Steve Kometko and Jules Asner bring you the latest from Hollywood on E! News Daily. Weeknights at 6:30 only on E!
If you find yourself snowed under by debt, bankruptcy may make sense. Don't let the high cost of legal fees and the paperwork keep you from your fresh start.
Call We the People, 934-8382. No lawyers save money.
Legal procedures don't always require an attorney. An independent paralegal can be a cost-effective alternative. It's your choice, your money, your decision.
Call We the People, 934-8382. No lawyers save money.
Discover Seal Beach. Seal Beach's natural beauty, rich history, and convenient location make it a destination worth exploring.
Charo Chicken, Check Cashing, etc., Nutrisport, and McNally Electric.
By the spring of 1970, 21-year-old Richard Simmons was a skinny, wired diet junkie.
I started myself back on track in Italy, but when you're a compulsive eater, it's never over.
In late 1970, after nearly starving himself to death in Italy, 22-year-old Richard took his first steps to recovery. Then, Uncle Sam beckoned. Simmons' draft number was up.
When I came back to the United States, I only came back because my number was called. I mean, I don't know if I would have ever come back from Florence. I loved it so. But, you know, I wanted to go to Vietnam.
The war in Vietnam was in full swing. Richard packed up, left Italy, and headed back to the United States to report to the draft board. His brother Lenny had enlisted in 1969.
I wanted to go to Vietnam because I wanted to be with my brother. And I went down and took my physical, and even though I had lost weight, they saw the skin hanging, and, you know, they just went, this is, no, you're not going. And I go, please, my brother, and no, you're not going.
Richard was excused from military service and returned to New Orleans.
Dad and he were having conflicts, obviously. He was finished school now, and Dad felt it was time for him to get a job.
My father said, well, you graduated college, so let's get yourself a job. Here's a one-way coach ticket and $500 to New York. You're leaving in a couple days. Bye-bye.
Richard landed in New York City in the spring of 1971.
I got a job at an advertising agency in the daytime, and then I got a job as a waiter at the auto pub in the General Motors building at nighttime. That's how I existed in New York.
Richard waited tables at the auto pub restaurant. He was surrounded by food, day in and day out. Simmons was still haunted by his compulsion to eat.
And this girl was just eating and eating and eating, and I finally asked her, I said, what are you doing? And she took me to a bathroom, then she took me to a stall, and she put her fingers down her throat, and she threw up. And this is the way that this girl stayed at, 95 pounds. So that became my next regimen.
The regimen worked. The 22-year-old waiter lost weight, but he also began to feel fatigued.
Now, I went to my doctor, and he said, you're throwing up. How could you say that about me? All of a sudden, it was another scene from a movie. He says, because I could tell by your eyes. I could tell, you're having, nosebleeds, you're having this, you're having that. I could tell by just looking at you.
Richard felt the auto pub afforded him too many temptations. In 1971, a customer spotted Simmons at the restaurant and offered him a way out.
One of my customers turned out to be a biggie in the cosmetic world, and I was asked to do the same thing that my mother did, was to go from store to store and put lashes on and teach people about makeup.
Simmons jumped at the opportunity. Richard's new job required him to travel to department stores all over the country.
When I came out to L.A. with the cosmetic company, I took one look around and I said, no, this is where I want to be.
So he stayed. In 1972, Richard walked away from the cosmetics business and looked for another job.
I opened up Variety and it said, looking for fun waiter with a good sense of humor, and I went, must be talking about me.
The restaurant was called Derek's, located in the Beverly Comstock Hotel. Television personality Ed McMahon had a standing reservation.
Richard Simmons was this over-the-top maitre d'. And as you entered the door, he greeted me like he hadn't seen me in 10 years. He's, look, it's him, he's here. Ed McMahon, folks, Ed McMahon is here, he's in the, oh.
That was very outrageous. I'd come on roller skates. If you came in, you had a fur coat, I'd go, oh, let me take care of that, throw it in the corner. And there was no menus, and I sat on people's laps.
I went there every night because I enjoyed the show.
But Richard dreamed of a bigger stage.
After hours, when everything was calmed down, folks had gone, I'd linger. I was a, late night guy, so I would linger around, and we'd sit and he'd tell me about his thoughts and wishes and aspirations.
Richard continued to struggle with his weight. In the early 70s, exercise studios began popping up all over Los Angeles.
I had been to all these exercise places, and all these models would come into the studio and would also teach me their tricks of losing weight, which none of them really worked. But they said, if you want a place for exercise, you should go to Gilda's.
Gilda's was an exercise studio in Los Angeles run by Gilda Marks, a fitness instructor who also was a regular at Derek's.
I took the class and said, oh my God, this is fabulous. A day later, Gilda came in and gave me my money back and told me that it was really just for women and that the women in the class didn't want me in the class.
But for the first time, Richard knew what he wanted. In 1973, Simmons opened Roughage, a salad bar, and an adjacent exercise studio, Anatomy Asylum.
These men and women who were overweight, who didn't care for themselves, who never liked exercise, they were all me. They were all these bodies, but they had my face on them.
Coming up, Richard Simmons, Superstar.
I want to tell you that exercise is really the most important thing in the whole world, and it can just open up every door for you.
On the next Hollywood off-ramp, something strange blows into town.
Merge the spirit of this performer with my own.
But when the apprentice steals from the star,
You didn't get that job by yourself.
will dabbling with dark forces be her final act? That's tonight at 10 on Hollywood Off-Ramp, E's new anthology series, a dark detour on the road to fame.
Don't be scared. It's only Hollywood.
Tonight at 10, only on E.
We've never been in the real world before.
For anyone who's been told they couldn't do it.
I could fly if I had to.
Shouldn't try it. Kinda makes you feel discouraged or wouldn't make it. This bowl's for you.
Oh my God, it's Rocky and Bullwinkle!
The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle, rated PG, starts Friday.
Saw you looking for change, and I was like, she should know. 1-800-CALL-ATT is a guaranteed cheap collect call.
1-800-CALLATT. Hair colored this great after 33 days? It's Superior Preference from L'Oreal. Now my color won't fade out. The breakthrough weekly conditioning treatment right in the box. For soft, shiny, superior color. Superior Preference from L'Oreal Paris. I'm worth it.
Hey, how you doing? What's up, man? You can make it. You can make it. We can make it. Got a chance. Better take it. We can make it. Try to somebody do it.
Get ready for a three-dimensional shot of flavor. Introducing Doritos Jalapeno Cheddar 3D Snacks.
Hello, Larry. Long time no see.
You know me?
Like a book, Larry. How about a Hebrew National hot dog?
Take credit card?
I take credit for everything. This is some of my best work. Fresh, kosher beef, perfectly seasoned, nothing artificial.
Why?
Thank you. Now take one over to your wife.
My wife? I wish.
Trust me on this, Larry.
Hebrew National. Better because we answer to a higher authority.
I have a hot dog, and it's for you.
Gerber has a surprising way to calm your baby down at bedtime. Introducing Gerber Baby Wash. The first with natural soothing lavender. It's Gerber safe and gentle. With warm water, here's a natural way to calm and relax him. Just in time for bedtime.
Yes, your baby has you, and you have Gerber.
Shouldn't your baby be a Gerber baby? Look for all the new products in the Gerber aisle to help keep your baby healthy and happy.
By 1973, 25-year-old Richard Simmons was ready for his new career, exercise entrepreneur.
I thought it was time for a clown. And so that's what I became. I became the court jester of health.
Richard's business venture, which included a salad bar and adjacent exercise studio, was an overnight success.
People just went there and loved it and loved the idea that fresh juice and salads and exercise, and it seemed like its own little paradise.
The Anatomy Asylum became the place to sweat. Richard mixed fitness with popular music and made exercise fun. Celebrities from Carol Channing to Cheryl Tiegs attended Simmons classes.
Before Richard Simmons, I had dabbled in exercise. I had tried everything, and it didn't necessarily work. When I went to Richard's, it was really hard, and yet he made it so much fun with the energy that he put out.
Richard's uninhibited approach to exercise brought business and attention. The buzz surrounding the Anatomy Asylum only made the exercise studio more popular. TV host Joy Philbin.
I had heard that this was the new hot place to go and that the instructor there was just, you know, unusual, to say the least. I don't like to exercise. I still don't. But I never had such a good time as I did in that hour. And, of course, I think that the class was packed.
The classes were always packed, so Simmons added more classes. Eventually, Richard ran out of room. In 1975, he eliminated the salad bar and renamed the place Simmons. That same year, Richard received a call from Joy Philbin's husband, Regis.
The first time I saw Richard Simmons was on my AM Los Angeles show in the 70s. My wife had seen him work in a place called the Anatomy Asylum. He was one of those motivational guys who put his ladies through strenuous classes. And I thought, well, I'll surprise my staff and have it done right on the show.
AM Los Angeles co-host Sarah Purcell.
He walks into a studio, and, you know, suddenly the doors don't just open. I mean, they fly open and slam the walls, you know. And so he walks in, and you've got yourself a show from the minute he walks in the door.
Simmons' appearance on AM Los Angeles brought even more attention to the energetic 27-year-old.
I was on an airplane, and this lady said, "Didn't I just see you on the Regis show? Weren't you the guy that jumps up and down at the exercise?" "Yes. We want you on General Hospital."
In 1976, Richard Simmons signed on to play himself on the red-hot soap opera General Hospital.
I'm not an actor, and they knew that, and so I played Richard Simmons.
Hi, Richard. All right, you two. Come on now. Stop fooling around, huh? Mr. Spencer let us use this thing to exercise, so let's exercise.
General Hospital star Jacqueline Zeman.
Richard contributed a lot to General Hospital, and I think he was a wonderful addition to the show. He was already really well-known and really popular, and in those days, you've got to remember, GH was the show.
Go away. Give them all to Doris Day. Blow it out.
Richard continued to teach classes at Simmons. In 1979, Simmons was introduced to television producer Woody Fraser, best known for creating Good Morning America. Producer Nora Fraser was Woody's wife at the time.
Woody had an idea for a new concept in syndication, which had to do with syndicating 3 shows that were connected to each other. And they were 3 half hours. And 1 half hour was with F. Lee Bailey, and they called it A Woman in Her Rights. The second one was with Tony Grant, who was a radio psychologist, and it was called A Woman and Her Mind. And the third one was with Richard Simmons, and it was called A Woman and Her Body.
The other shows failed, but the half hour with Richard Simmons caught on. Later in 1979, Woody Fraser began production on The Richard Simmons Show. Producer Woody Fraser.
We're 2 people. I'm the producer, Richard's the talent. I have a vision, he has a vision. He would grab me, and he would put his arms around me, he'd hug me, put his head on my chest, and he'd say, "You're my Louis B. Mayer, and I'm your Betty Davis." You know?
The show was hugely popular. Producer Nora Fraser recalls the star's penchant for melodrama.
Richard's tendency towards self-serving, sort of saccharine, was stuff we never liked. We had rules. And the rules were, Richard, you may not read letters to yourself. Don't cry.
And I want you to know that I really appreciate your letters, because there is nothing I love more than a success story.
On the weekends, Richard took his act on the road.
He would make these personal appearances at malls, and he would say things like, "God, women love me so much, they see me and they throw their babies down and run over to get my autograph."
The resplendent performer was spreading himself thin. His appearances on General Hospital dwindled.
Listen, you have to go home with that body, not me. I was doing both shows at the same time. Then I had to make a decision, and I had to do the Richard Simmons show, because that was really my baby.
Richard poured his energy into the show. Eventually, the notoriety of the Richard Simmons show helped Richard deal with the past.
Okay, I'm better. My father, when I won my first Emmy, I flew home to New Orleans, and I had it in my hands, and he was sitting reading the newspaper, the obituary column, and I stuck that Emmy right in front of him, and I said, "This is for you."
Brother Lenny Simmons.
They got to be very close after that. They were both adults then. You know, no one had to prove each other. They didn't have to prove something to each other. My dad lived his life through my brother's success. All the things that my dad was not able to accomplish in show business, he felt part of it.
Coming up.
Now watch this.
Richard loved to be in drag, and he would be putting on nylons, and we'd walk in the dressing room and say, "What's the matter? What do you want?"
Navy SEAL, professional wrestler, and governor.
We shocked the world!
Jesse Ventura has done it all.
My father has probably lived about 10 lifetimes.
Now, see how the body dealt with the brutality.
I ended up not even knowing if I'd live the next week.
And then dealt with the system.
He never gives up.
It's the story you haven't heard.
They can dislike Jesse Ventura, but by God, I am the governor.
Jesse Ventura, this Sunday at 9 on the E! True Hollywood Story.
On July 28th, the clubs are back for seconds.
Get away from there.
Mama.
Work your magic, girl.
They gonna thank you, Tyra Banks.
Papa.
Get your butt out my chair.
Sherman. And even Granny. Eddie Murphy is the clubs. Nutty Professor 2's The Clumps. Rated PG-13. Starts Friday, July 28th in theaters everywhere.
Hi.
We used to live here.
Well, we're having a barbecue. Come on back.
Hey!
Have a ballpark.
No, we couldn't. No.
Some just can't resist the great taste of ballpark franks. They plump when you cook them.
Hi.
We used to live here.
Let's call our new puppy Jack. Yeah. Uh-oh, he got into the garbage.
Uh-oh, he found the bathroom.
New Clorox disinfecting wipes. It's from Clorox, so it's more than clean.
Uh-oh, paw prints.
Hit it.
To talk, to listen, or just to let loose. That's the power of two. Introducing Sprint 1000. 1,000 minutes of long distance for just $20 a month. That's as low as 2 cents a minute. Every night or all weekend long. The choice is yours. That's the power of two. Anything more would be too much. Switch to Sprint 1000 at 1-800-PIN-DROP. Call now and get free internet call waiting. And never miss another call when you're online.
My hair feels healthier than before I colored. Casting Color Spa by L'Oreal. It's the gentle, no ammonia color. With essential oils. Healthy color, no grays. Casting Color Spa by L'Oreal Paris. Healthy color I can feel, and I'm worth it.
How do you clean the whole house fast? Giddy Up 409. It works in the kitchen. It works in the bathroom. It works all through the house. Giddy Up 409.
Hi, we're the Backstreet Boys.
And you're watching
Entertainment Television.
By 1982, Richard Simmons was a household name. Only then did the 34-year-old entertainer come to grips with his childhood.
I went through 20 years of being made fun of, being put down, being laughed at, and being told that because I was fat, I was a nothing.
Throughout the first 3 decades of his life, Richard Simmons felt detached from his father. The success of the Richard Simmons Show was the bridge that brought the two together.
My brother had him on his TV show. He actually put him on the payroll and asked Dad opinions on how to do things. And so Dad was actually able to participate in my brother's success.
Then my father and I
became very close, and I talked to him every day.
I love Daddy.
The show provided an outlet for Richard's theatrical streak. He created characters who appeared on his program. Producer Nora Fraser.
He had Sergeant Simmons, who was dressed up like a motorcycle cop and would go out and arrest people in supermarkets for buying junk food.
Now watch this.
Director Jerry Kupsonet.
Richard loved to be in drag.
Now, is that a reaction or is that a reaction?
He would be putting on nylons, and we'd walk in the dressing room and say, "What's the matter? What do you want?" You know, like that. And he was very funny about that kind of stuff.
In 1982, the Richard Simmons empire expanded to the literary world. His first book, Never Say Diet, was on the New York Times bestseller list for 55 weeks. That same year, Simmons released an exercise album titled Reach.
The daytime show was a huge hit, so Woody sold a nighttime version called Here's Richard.
Here's Richard. Starring Richard Simmons. Tonight's special guest, Billy Crystal.
Unfortunately, it only lasted 13 weeks. It was a prime-time, half-hour sitcom exercise show. Sounds strange, but it was a unique attempt at trying something different.
That's what I need.
Richard did not have time to dwell on the failure of Here's Richard. In November of 1982, his 85-year-old father, Leonard Simmons, suffered complications during a kidney stone operation in New Orleans. Richard flew home to be with his father.
He got sick, and then I said, what can I do?
And he says, well, pray for me, son. And he says, I know this may be hard. I'm not even a Catholic, but if you ever go to Italy, why don't you ask the Pope to pray for me?
Richard immediately began planning a trip to Rome.
He went to Italy and had a private audience with the Pope, and they sent a papal blessing.
It didn't work. Leonard Simmons' health continued to decline. In early 1983, Richard adjusted his schedule so he could spend more time with his father. That April, The Richard Simmons Show was booked to tape a full week of shows in New Orleans.
It was just going to be a fun week. But unfortunately, that was also the week that my father passed away. He had been in intensive care, and on April 18th, that Monday, passed away at the age of 86. My brother was scheduled to come in that day.
On the day his father was to be buried, 34-year-old Richard Simmons sat alone in his hotel room. After their long, often stormy relationship, Richard couldn't bear to attend the service.
My brother had never attended a funeral before in his life. He had never seen anybody deceased. He was afraid. He just didn't know what he would do.
Richard's way of dealing with the grief was to work.
We had the wake on Tuesday, and Wednesday and Thursday he was in Jackson Square doing his exercise.
And after you get through eating, honey?
On Friday, he was at my mother's house doing a cooking segment with my mom. So when they say the show must go on, the show went on.
Bye-bye.
For Richard, all the years of tension and turmoil with his father were finally resolved.
By me becoming successful, that was the last piece of the puzzle that my father needed to complete his life. When my father passed, there was no unfinished business.
But Richard's success was suddenly threatened. Daytime television was changing.
All the other talk shows were coming in. Oprah was getting big, and Sally was getting big, and I guess people got tired of Richard, which is too bad because Richard was this refreshing, different thing.
By the end of 1983, The Richard Simmons Show was over. His workout studio kept Richard busy, but the 35-year-old wanted to get back in the spotlight. A year later, he got an opportunity.
You can make a 30-minute commercial, and you can call it infomercial. And I had created for myself, out of construction paper, these little cards. These are the red cards, they're the meat cards. These are the yellow cards, these are the fat cards. And I created something called Deal a Meal.
Those two sides of Richard, it's a dichotomy. It really is a dichotomy because there is that childlike, that caring for the masses, that wanting to help people, and sometimes looking a little bit weird doing it. And yet there's that shrewd business aspect.
Coming up, a new look.
So I said, well, you know, how about a tank top and shorts? So now we can't get him to put his pants back on.
They were the gossip gurus of Tinseltown. But while they were dishing the dirt, most of Hollywood wanted to see them buried. Mysteries and Scandals premieres Hedda Hopper and Luella Parsons, tonight at 8:30. Only on E! Bam! Ain't it a bitch?
Some movie stars live in mansions. Others relax in a room with a view. Then there's the allure of a home in the hills. Join me, Suzanne Senna, for a look inside Hollywood's most personal spaces, Celebrity Home. Weeknights at 7:30, only on E!
What I was trying to do here was capture the hopelessness of modern life. There's no vases, no fruit, it's just quiet. It's permanent, but yet expansive. It's the same here as it is from here. In fact, it's me.
You ran out of paint and the art store wouldn't take a check again, right?
Right.
Consider the Visa check card instead of checks, or cash. It's fast, easy, and accepted everywhere Visa is, so you can get what you need.
What I was trying to do here...
And get on with life.
1-800-COLLECT presents Ava Save-A-Lot.
Hey, you in the hat. Who you calling collect, Mom? Or girlfriend?
It's my girlfriend.
Then show her you really care. Dial 1-800-COLLECT, as in collect calls. Got it?
It's easy.
And it saves the people you call at least $1 or $2. Girlfriends love that. Can someone move the truck that's blocking me?
Mom, I'll call you back.
1-800-COLLECT. Save $1 or $2.
Weeknights on E! Emmy's making America beautiful, one person at a time on Fashion Emergency. Weeknights at 7, only on E!
Get the goods that keep getting better with MTV Prize Possessions. You want stuff. We got stuff and it's free. Want to know how to win it? Check this out.
Come into Jack's Surfboards, located at the corner of Main and Pacific Coast Highway in Huntington Beach, or call 714-536-4516 for details.
Nescafe Froth? Frothe. Caramel cappuccino frothe. Hey, this is caramel cappuccino.
Hey, Fruity!
It's frothe.
Nescafe Froth, I heard about this
It's
guy.
frothe. Get it right, frothe. Oh, we got a little food.
And now try the new Morning Frothe. Nescafe Frothe Latte. Nescafe. Adventures in Coffee.
1983 was a difficult year for Richard Simmons. He lost his father and his television show. The 35-year-old exercise guru knew he had to reinvent himself.
Whether people are laughing with me or at me, I think is a gift.
In 1986, when exercise tapes were clogging the video stores, 38-year-old Richard Simmons concocted a new twist. He called it Sweatin' to the Oldies.
Betty! Betty! Betty!
Richard's childhood provided inspiration for his perspiration.
All the songs that I used in my sweating tapes were all the songs that I used to eat to. Dancing in the Street and Rescue Me and He's a Rebel and Ain't No Mountain High Enough and all that. That's what I ate to.
With the new tapes came a new look. Richard turned to wardrobe stylist Leslie Wilshire for help.
I said, well, how about a tank top and shorts? Well, that was very naked for him at the time. And, but I said, you know, why not? You got great legs. Let's do your legs. So now we can't get him to put his pants back on.
The Sweatin' series sold more than 23 million copies. To promote the tapes and himself, Richard hit the road.
I travel about 300 days a year. I meet a lot of people. They come out to shopping malls or they come out to conventions, health conventions to see me, hotels, sometimes even a church basement.
In 1989, Simmons made a deal to appear on cable's QVC network.
I come up with products that aren't gimmicky. Anything to get them targeted so that they can really take care of themselves and live a long life.
That is Richard. He gets joy out of being that person. He loves the fact that he causes people to think that way because he can deliver what he promises.
In the 90s, Simmons revved up his merchandising push.
Look, this beautiful sweat into the oldies hot pink water bottle. Here we are, Disco Sweat. Look, a cookbook. Farewell to fat.
After his father's death in 1983, Richard began making more trips back to New Orleans.
Well, this is my hometown. I'm a New Orleans boy. I was born and raised here. I try to get here like one day a month and have dinner with my mother. She's 82 now.
Richard always returned home with baubles for Mom.
He also used to shower her with jewels. My mother loved wearing big rings, big bracelets. She was a beautiful lady, and he loved to dress her up.
During a trip back to New Orleans in January of 1998, Simmons appeared on Live with Regis and Kathy Lee.
New Orleans, wherever we are, there's Richard Simmons, always ready. And he's a workhorse, and he always gives you a great show.
Good morning.
Every time we have Richard on the show, it's memorable. I always say I need a good night's sleep and a really, really big multivitamin before, you know, it's like we have to gird ourselves for Richard.
Richard also made regular appearances on The Howard Stern Show, The Tonight Show with Jay Leno, and The Late Show with David Letterman.
When he comes on David Letterman, when he does that show, he brings out a different Dave. The two of them together are classic television.
In March of 1998, Richard's 86-year-old mother slipped and fell in her home. While not seriously injured, she was slowing down. Richard was worried.
I call my mother 5 times a day. She would go, honey, you just talked to me 3 hours ago. What do you think changed? Lassie fell in the well?
As the months passed, Shirley became more and more frail.
When she slowly started going down, what the doctor called failure to thrive, where the food was no longer nourishing her muscles, and she lost the ability to walk or feed herself.
The brothers took painful but necessary steps.
We made a promise that we would not put her in a nursing home, and so we had sitters 24 hours a day, so they would help me out with her. But during that time period, no matter what he was doing, he changed everything. He came home every 2 weeks to see her.
On February 28, 1999, Richard Simmons saw his mother for the last time.
I kissed her, and then I walked out of the bedroom, and I stopped, and I turned around and said, Shirley, can I just have another kiss before I get on the plane? She goes, come here. And I kissed her, and then my brother kissed her, and 2 hours later, she was gone.
Coming up, Richard Simmons grows up.
That was my first coffin, first casket, first dead body, first wake, and it was my mother's.
An American Beauty. She came to Hollywood and came undone.
This woman self-destructed.
Her dreams became nightmares.
She told me that somebody was going to kill her.
Her virtue became vice.
Jill was not above exchanging sexual favors for either money or drugs.
And finding her killers became a crusade.
I want to know why. They took away my only sister.
Look at the bastards. It's the story you haven't heard.
This could be anybody's daughter.
The Murder of Miss Hollywood. Tonight at 9 on the E! True Hollywood Story.
Get ready to fall in love with Runaway Bride. Richard Gere and Julia Roberts light up the screen. The magic is back in a big way.
Now that's romantic.
Runaway Bride, rated PG, on video and DVD tomorrow.
You are amazing. Is there anything you can't do? Your baby's growing quickly, so it's no wonder that by the time he's 4 months, his calcium needs increase more than 50%. That's why there's Carnation Follow-Up, the only formula with the extra calcium active babies need, plus savings up to 20%. Sorry, no driving till you're 16. Carnation Follow-Up from Nestle, also available in soy.
Know the difference between bargain bleach and new dry Clorox bleach? Spill dry Clorox bleach, just brush it away. Spill bargain bleach, and you may throw it away. New dry Clorox bleach, fabric safe if spilled, whitens whites like Clorox bleach.
Hey, how you doing? What's up, man?
We can make it. We can make it. We can make it. Got a chance. Better take it.
We can make it. Try to talk about you and I. Get ready for a three-dimensional shot flavor. Introducing Doritos Jalapeno Cheddar 3D Snacks.
I don't even know why I bother. Do you want to go home? You don't pay attention to what I say. You're not even listening now, are you? No, what are you doing? No, no, stop! Oh, you are so much trouble. Bad ball! No! Mother of pearl!
People do some strange things to cars. That's why there's Carfax. We'll give you the real history of any used car. Get a Carfax report from your dealer or at Carfax.com.
I've just fallen in love with a shampoo.
Nutrivive from L'Oreal Paris. Nutriceramide finds and fixes the damaged areas. The result? Up to 40% less breakage. My hair is soft, shiny, and resilient. Nutrivive from L'Oreal Paris. And I'm worth it.
Actual size of hazelnut. Actual size of hazelnut flavor in Hazelnut Flavor Coffee Mate. The rich, creamy taste of Carnation Coffee Mate from Nestle. Flavor doesn't get any bigger.
What's up? This is Omar Epps. My favorite show on there is The True Hollywood Stories. I don't want to be on there because that means I went haywire somewhere.
The E! True Hollywood Story every night at 9.
When his mother passed away in February of 1999, the life of 50-year-old Richard Simmons changed forever.
I had to stand next to the casket, and they made her so beautiful she looked like my sister.
Even as he mourned the death of his mother, Richard worried about being able to deal with the service. Simmons confided in his brother Lenny.
He said he just had trouble being at a funeral back when Dad died, but when he came in town, you know, he said, I don't know if I could go see Mom. And I said, well, Dickie, that's what I call him, Dickie, you'll just have to make that decision your own. He says, you won't be mad? I said, no.
But this time, Richard did attend the funeral. He picked a dress for his mother to wear and personally took care of the flower arrangements.
That was my first coffin, first casket, first dead body, first wake, and it was my mother's.
Once he saw Mom and realized that she was finally at peace, it was the same old Richard. He greeted people, brought them over to see Mom.
Richard feels as if he has an obligation to his fans and to his people because they love him so much. That helps him keep his spirits up.
In September of 1999, Richard released his autobiography, Still Hungry After All These Years, and made his long-awaited return to daytime television.
I want to do this show called Dream Maker, and I'm going to make people's dreams come true. For kids, for teens, for adults. It's not on television. What do you think?
The first episode of Dream Maker aired in national syndication on September 20th, 1999. Dream Maker co-host Jerry Penacoli.
You're making people laugh, you're making people happy, sometimes you make people cry, but ultimately you're giving people their dreams. And I think there's a place for a show like this.
But the show never found an audience. The ratings started low and did not improve. After only 13 weeks in production, the program was canceled. According to Simmons, the decision was his.
I felt imprisoned by doing a show that was all time-consuming. I didn't have a moment to myself. And so after the 13 weeks, I just said, I've got to go back to do what I really want to do.
The final episode of Dream Maker aired in January of 2000.
Please, promise me, you'll keep dreaming. I love you very much. Good night.
When his TV show ended, Richard Simmons returned to the business he started 26 years before, to Slimmons, his Beverly Hills fitness studio. The boy, who used to be Milton T. Simmons, has grown up. But at 51, Simmons has definitely not slowed down. Richard Simmons wouldn't know how.
Sleep means nothing to me. I can't wait to see the sun rise. I can't wait to take the dogs out. I know tonight when I go to teach a class, they'll come in, you know, from their job like that, and that music will go on, and they'll go nuts. And I go home and I go, wow, that was great. What's going to happen tomorrow? I hope more of the same. We're going to work on the arms, yes. So don't crawl down there. Come here, come here. Come over here, yeah. Hi, hi. Come over here. Turn around. No, we're not doing that. No. Over.